It is Wednesday, my dudes, and the madness continues on the sweat presented by DraftKings. It all comes down to this. Michael Jeffrey Jordan versus Wayne Douglas Gretzky, battling for the crown of best fantasy player to ever walk the planet Earth, as voted on by you on Twitter. So do not get upset with us. Get upset with yourselves.
Exactly.
And Steve Buchanan.
Okay, welcome to the show. I'm Jesse Cofield. He is Emerson Latzia. We have lots coming up. Steve is obviously here, as you can see, sitting next to me. Also, the Gojo Gang going to weigh in on the Aaron Rodgers debacle, fiasco, whatever you want to call it. Best bets for the final pair of first four tournament games. Plus, we're going to get your top DFS plays for around the NHL, PGA Tour. It's very exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's very exciting, too, the World Baseball Classic. Before we dive into that, Gary and Thorne and Steve Buchanan, who are you taking in the final matchup of our Sweat Fantasy GOAT bracket? Woo! Michael Jordan or Wayne Gretzky? It would be rude of us, Steve. I'm sorry to not let our Canadian basketball fan answer first. Go ahead, Gare Bear.
Yeah, you guys know I don't like hockey. I'm pretty clear about that.
Wow.
I don't want to play into that stereotype. However, in this case, I know it's Michael freaking Jordan, but Wayne Gretzky's that dude. I don't think you can pick against Gretzky. I mean, one of my favorite stats since I was a kid, and this will be a stat forever because this is never going to change, is that Wayne Gretzky, if you remove every goal he ever scored, and he scored more than anyone else, 849 of them in the NHL, he still has more assists than any other player in history has points. Like, that's the differential between Wayne Gretzky and every other great NHL player of all time. Even if you think Jordan's the best basketball player ever, there are still other basketball players who are in his stratosphere. That is not the case with Wayne Gretzky. So I bet Jordan wins because, you know, he's Michael Jordan. But Wayne Gretzky, again, he was that guy. He was that good.
Bukes. Sounds like Gary did his homework.
But you're going to do it. He was like, I don't think you can go against, and you're going to do it.
Yeah, do it.
I think being in Canada, I think they just teach that in school anyway. So that's probably where he got that information.
Can we also talk about there is a Canadian, a dude in Toronto, who does not like hockey? Like,
yeah.
How have you not been deported yet?
Show us your Canada card. We don't believe you.
The Raptors started getting good. So
you're Canadian. You live in Canada. We just see your wall. We don't know if that's true.
And for somebody who lives in Canada, he's in the United States all the time. So I'm starting to wonder what this is about Gary.
He's a fraud.
As someone who doesn't watch basketball, as someone who doesn't watch hockey, like this is a great question for me. But here's why I'm not going to pick against Michael Jordan. He is affiliated with DraftKings, like he's a board member or something like that.
He's one of my favorite people on the planet.
So I'm not going to go against a company man, and I wear his shoes, so I automatically have to go with that. I wear his shoes, and he's with DraftKings, so I'm not going to go against him. That is your well thought out homework-esque question from me on this matter.
I'm going to pull up the poll real quick because it is live, everybody, on the DK Nation. So DK Live Twitter channel right now. We have Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, 54.5% of the vote, 45.5% right now for Wayne Gretzky.
How many votes?
We have 14 hours left to vote in this poll, and there are 78 votes currently.
Wow, let's keep it going, people. Get in there and get those votes in.
Quality, not quantity.
All right, we are also getting closer to crowning a champ at the World Baseball Classic. Knockout round getting underway today. Cuba takes down Australia, advances to the WBC Finals for the first time since 2006. A top pool D, Venezuela has already punched its ticket to the quarterfinals. Now joining them, either Puerto Rico or the Dominican Republic. The winner between these two is moving on. Steve, must-watch television. What bet do you like here?
No doubt. And like, if you haven't watched a game in the World Baseball Classic, I would say this is a good start.
Electric
for this game.
Yeah, it's been incredible.
The names on these rosters.
I was just going to say, like, it's literally a who's who in this World Baseball Classic. So the bets aren't currently up on DraftKings Sportsbook. I think we're still waiting to hear who's going to take them out for Puerto Rico. But I would be looking at the under for this game. I mean, they've been two of the better pitching teams in this World Baseball Classic thus far. If you look at their WHIP, which is walks hit, innings pitched, no higher than 1 on both sides here. So while they have some stellar hitters on both sides, the pitching has also been excellent as well. And the other thing with this World Baseball Classic, it's been very difficult to handicap. You're going to see some crazy numbers that you've never seen before. Like we've been seeing run lines of like -5.5 for some teams. Like you never see that in Major League Baseball. But for this one in particular, I'm guessing this is probably going to be 10.5 for an over/under. I think I'm going to take the under on this one.
All right, Gary, and what do you think? What is your best bet in this one?
Yeah, I would probably lean towards betting the Dominican Republic when we do get lines. I'd be surprised if they weren't favored in this game when we do eventually get a line, but still, it's just really interesting because the dynamic of the World Baseball Classic is obviously, and this is true for the USA as much as it is for Puerto Rico and for the Dominican Republic, it's really easy to get your nation's best hitters to come out. It's much harder to get your nation's best pitchers to come out. And by the time we've reached the end of pool play, with the restrictions that have been put in place, with the pitch counts for some of these pitchers, you don't have a lot of guys left, and that depth really might be tested. I think Johnny Cueto is going to start this game for the DR. I think the reason we don't have lines yet is because Puerto Rico doesn't even know who Puerto Rico is going to start in this game. They've already used Marcus Stroman. They've already used Jose Barrios. I just worry that they don't have the pitching depth to match up with that Dominican Republic lineup, which seems like it came alive after a slow start to this tournament in their last game against Israel. So I'm going to side with Dominican Republic, and I think they will be favored, but I'm okay with that.
All right, we know a little more over in Pool C, so we can punch up the standings there because Team USA controls its own destiny. You beat Colombia, and the Americans are in. Same can be said for Mexico and the Fighting Gare Bears, also known as Canada. 3 o'clock Eastern time today. Garion, your betting approach here, what is it? We do have numbers up on the DK Sportsbook for this one. So 1.5 run favorite for Mexico right now on the run line.
Yeah, I think I like Mexico on the run line. You look, again, this is a situation where Canada was a team that did not have a lot of pitching depth to begin with. And then they get 2/3 of an inning from Cal Quantrill, really their only major league caliber starting pitcher on this roster. And it's been kind of downhill with the pitching since then. They had a great performance yesterday against Colombia, holding them scoreless, but they used a lot of their best relievers in that game, aside from Matt Brash. But Matt Brash is only going to pitch the 9th inning in this game if Canada is winning. Whereas on the other side, you've got Jose Urquidy starting this game for Mexico. And it seems like Urquidy was saved specifically for this Team Canada lineup. Who knows if it's because of the hockey roots? I'm a left-handed batter myself, but every single Canadian person seems to bat left-handed. There's a lot of left-handed bats in this lineup, even without Freddie Freeman, who I don't think is going to play in this tournament anymore after tweaking his hamstring yesterday. But Urquidy has reverse splits. He's been amazing throughout his career against left-handed batters, allowing just a 201 batting average and a 260 WOBA within the split. I think Urquidy's going to have a really strong start today, and I don't think Canada can match that. So -195 on the run line for Mexico seems like a pretty tempting bet.
Okay, Bukes, what do you want here? Total 10.5. You got Canada plus 215 on the money line there.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, too, kind of to Garen's point, I actually do kind of like Canada on the run line here as the underdogs. It's been very hard to find value on these bets. These games have been so lopsided. Like you're seeing like -1100 favorites on some of these ones. Like that's not bets you're going to be taking here. But we've seen like so many outcomes just go the complete opposite direction on how some of these games have been handicapped. And to Mexico's detriment, even though that they've been, they're 2-1, they've been one of the lighter hitting teams so far in this baseball classic. They're hitting just 279, only a 339 on base percentage. And in a normal case, those aren't bad numbers. But in this case, that puts them near the bottom of, if you want to call this the league here, thus far. Garen mentioned the pitching has been bad. That has been a big issue here. But getting 1.5 for Canada at plus 165, I think it's a pretty good number.
All right, we talked about this. USA, Mexico knocked off the United States. They rebounded by blowing out Canada.
Oh,
Sorry,
wow,
Garion. What are the chances the Americans bring it tonight again, this time against Colombia, though?
Yeah, I think they have a really good chance. Colombia has been one of the worst hitting teams so far. Only 10 total runs scored during this World Baseball Classic in the 3 games. They're hitting 190 with a 243 on base percentage. USA's had a lot of problems with their pitching, but they can go past that because that lineup is absolutely stacked from top to bottom. When you have guys like, Cedric Mullins hitting at like 8th in the lineup. I think you got a pretty good lineup here. So I'm going with the USA in this one.
All right, who you going with, Garion?
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see what this line is, because I don't think there's going to be a cool way to bet this. Maybe you just take the over and think that the Americans absolutely pound what's left of Colombia's pitching staff, because I think Merrill Kelly is also in a really nice spot here. Obviously, going to have the handedness advantage in a lot of these matchups. Colombia is a very dominant right-handed lineup. And yes, they have some major league talent, but when like Jorge Alfaro is your number 3 hitter, I don't know how much your major league talent actually matters in a tournament like this, because as Buke said, they've had a really tough time scoring runs since that opening, I mean, really stunning result against Mexico when you consider they've now lost to Canada and Great Britain. Colombia lost to Great Britain at baseball. I'm not quite sure how that happened. So I think the Americans are going to have a very, very easy time with this one today, and they'll find themselves into the quarterfinals.
Wasn't there a pitcher, too, who's
Yeah,
on Great
they
Britain?
can't even make jerseys. They can't even make jerseys. How are they going to win games?
Wouldn't have happened if the Queen was still alive. All right, up next, everybody, the Gojo Boys make their weekly appearance on the show and talk to us about what everyone else is talking about. What's the latest in the Aaron Rodgers saga in this waiting game that we are waiting to see end? We discuss with Mike and Brandon coming up.
You guys, you know by now, every weekday, former Notre Dame teammates Michael Jr., Brandon Newman, they get together, they do a show, the Gojo Show. They got a cool perspective. They talk about, hot topics across sports, pop culture. You can watch it wherever you listen to your pods, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, all the places. And every weekday. But also, they join us here on The Sweat every Wednesday. Hey, fellas.
Yeah, dude.
They are here. Michael Jr., Brandon Newman, thanks for being here, guys. We love it.
Thanks, dudes. First things first. All right, so episode 1 of Ted Lasso here for season 3 dropped last night. Now, Mike, I was texting you a lot about this last week because we had major FOMO here. You got to hang out with the entire crew of Ted Lasso last week. How was that?
It was incredible. Being single and childless has never benefited me more than in that night when I got a text from a friend at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday asking if I could be at a certain location at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night in order to go and hang out at the Ted Lasso season 3 premiere party. So I didn't actually get to see the premiere then, but I got to meet all of our favorite characters from the show. They were as lovely in real life as they are on the screen. It was a ton of fun, and now it's going to make season 3 even more enjoyable. Because I can point at the screen and go, oh, look, my friends.
Yeah, my friends. Family. Yeah, I know them very well. Brandon, as you and I both have children, and if someone called me and was like, hey, can you be here just like, and I would literally call the police on them. I'd be like, have you lost your mind?
Lose my number, get blocked. Yes, but
Exactly.
I'm happy for Mike because he finally had a coveted most LA night since moving out to Los Angeles. I know my most LA night. I think I was invited to the Black Panther premiere where Ryan Coogler and Chadwick Boseman spoke before so it's always nice to have that LA night with a thing that can only happen in Los Angeles.
Brandon did tell me about this phenomenon, and I hadn't yet experienced it. What I didn't expect was that this kind of hoity-toity swanky party would also have a buffet. They served all the full buffet style. They served the Ted Lasso biscuits with the Boss biscuits, which
No,
I
they
housed
didn't.
2 boxes of, and they brought around the special limited edition Jenny's ice cream, Ted Lasso biscuits ice cream. And so I was eating like I would normally eat at a party full of people that were very not like me. So I was amazed.
Yeah, I was gonna say there must be so much food left at the end of the night. Just like
You
could
were-
have packed for the week.
I was
to go.
I was walking around finding boxes of biscuits and just eating them as I went. I was eating food off other people's tables for most of the night.
Yeah.
It sounds like me. One of us.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible. All right. Let's move on and
Yeah,
talk
you
about
know who's
football.
not one of us?
Yeah, you know who's not
This
one of
guy.
us? Aaron Rodgers. The saga continues to linger on. What's your reaction, Mike, to like everything that's playing out? And also, I saw a hysterical meme yesterday that was like, it was like Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay doesn't give me the weapons I need to succeed, and then it's like also Aaron Rodgers, give me all the weapons I played with in Green
Yeah.
Bay.
Could you see his wish list here?
His wish
Mike?
list is literally like
Lazard, Cobb, Mercedes Lewis, and then OBJ.
Yeah, so fair, but
Yeah, which OBJ is a decent upgrade, and I actually had a spin zone on this. Aaron Rodgers might sneaky be the world's greatest friend. Like, we don't know if he's even going to play for this team, and yet he is trying to secure the financial future of a bunch of guys that he clearly likes. Now, I don't know what Randall Cobb did to become his number one, like, I need you anywhere type of guy, roll dog, but it's been sensational to watch. So, yeah, watching Aaron Rodgers essentially get to dictate the moves of another franchise that he's not even technically signed to yet has been remarkable. And this has been one of the most bizarre processes of, quote unquote free agency for a guy that's going to get traded I have ever seen. I can't think of another player that has been able to exercise this kind of power, but I wonder if more will try now that they've seen the ball go through the basket.
Brandon, it feels a little bit like we're in the NBA right now with the way that he's just bossing everyone around and becoming the GM/owner.
I love it. I love to see it. I wanted Aaron Rodgers to show just how much power he had. I felt like it was too easy for him to just make another team take on that huge contract that he has. This is a guy who had back-to-back MVPs. This is a guy who got Mike McCarthy fired, and then LaFleur came in, and now he wants a new one. Like, I love everything I'm seeing, and I hope that at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers is going to pull the ultimate Aaron Rodgers trump card, and after he gets all his friend signs, just decide he's going to host Jeopardy.
Dude, he was the worst Jeopardy host. He was. He had no personality whatsoever. Like, it's Jeopardy, bro. You got to have a little bit because I'm already snoozing because these questions are too tough. And then you got to get up there. You have no personality.
Not one of us. Not one of us.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Exactly.
No, he's talking about you.
All right.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
talking about you.
Anywho. I was like, yeah. Wait, no. All right, Brandon. I know what's on
We're
your.
laughing at you, not with you.
Stop
Sorry,
it!
Okay.
Damn it! I'm embarrassed. Brandon, I know what is on your off-season wish list, and that's for Lamar Jackson to figure this stuff out, whatever he has going on with the Ravens, dude. So how do you see this saga ending? Because yesterday we had Lamar the agent tweeting about Lamar the player.
Someone needs to get Lamar into a room and just make him sign with an agent. That's what needs to happen.
Listen, there's two camps here because Michael Jr. here feels like Lamar Jackson inevitably is never going to come back with the Ravens because this has all been too messy and all the things are coming. And then there's the other side of the camp, the more reasonable side, like myself and I imagine Billy over there, that knows that Lamar Jackson is going to have a career season with the Baltimore Ravens this year. He's going to get an option to see just how valuable he is on the market, just who is willing to pay. And guess what? The Baltimore Ravens, somewhere that his bed is already at, his locker's there already, they're going to get a chance to match the deal. And I think that's what I think is going to happen. It's just Baltimore doesn't want to spend all that money right now. They're getting rid of Calais Campbell. They already get rid of Chuck Clark. Like, we're going to be breaking that defense just to make sure Lamar Jackson can be in his number 8 jersey for the Baltimore Ravens. But at the end of the day, this is just a play to see just how valuable he is. I think he wants to be a Lamar. I think he wants to be a Raven for the rest of his life. And after the Taylor Heineke signing in Atlanta, there's no way he's going there.
All right, so Mike, like when I take a step back and look at this, it really does feel like Lamar and Aaron Rodgers actually have a lot in common here, because remember the drama between Aaron and the Packers front office? That really started back in like 2018. It was a respect issue that never quite resolved itself, and it laid the groundwork for what we're seeing playing out right now with Aaron Rodgers. Do you think this could turn out to be something like that? Like this could harm his relationship with the Ravens long term?
Yeah, I think the reason I lean that way is just because we've seen them at odds publicly a couple of times now over key issues for players, right? Health and money are the two things that are really at your forefront as a player. And we remember going back late in last season when John Harbaugh and a lot of the organization wasn't coming out and appearing to have Lamar's back when it came to his injury status down the stretch, so much so that Lamar Jackson ended up releasing his own injury status and injury report and update on his knee down the stretch of the season to clarify the situation, because he didn't feel like the organization was doing a good job of representing his interest there. And now flash forward here, we had Adam Schefter going on his podcast the other day talking about, hey, this is what was reported by me and Chris Mortensen as being offered by the Ravens, X amount of guaranteed dollars, Y amount of injury guarantees, that Lamar Jackson went on Twitter and refuted. Because again, he looked at this, and we all look at this and go, all right, we know the information's not coming from Lamar, so this has to be information from the Baltimore Ravens. Why would the Baltimore Ravens be putting this information out? Because as in most negotiations, it is the job of management to make the player look greedy in public so that there becomes public pressure for that player to sign, all of which would not sit well with me, the player, if I were Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. So it's messy. Big mess.
Yeah.
I love mess.
Pay the guy.
It's the problem that every good quarterback in every franchise have.
Yeah, most good quarterbacks and good franchises don't get signed into long-term deals and end up in a contract stare down with their team at the end of it. Definitely.
Yeah.
All I know is every owner hates the Cleveland Browns every day. Like, so much after
Guaranteed
what
money
they gave.
is just, God.
Yep.
All right,
Mr. Watson.
Mike, what's been your favorite move in free agency so far? It's been busy.
I think just the collective approach from the Miami Dolphins. This was a team that made major strides forward last year, a team that is ultimately going to have its ceiling determined by how Tua Tagovailoa plays, who, as a part of this offseason, had his fifth-year option picked up by the team. But also you had the trade for Jalen Ramsey, which qualifies as a big-time move in name. We can debate whether or not he's at the height of his powers anymore, but only giving up a third-round pick and tight end Hunter Long in order to get a guy that was 2 years ago an All-Pro during the Rams Super Bowl season is big. David Long Jr., the former linebacker from Tennessee, coming over on just a 2-year, $11 million deal, being able to re-sign Jeffrey Wilson and Raheem Mostert, two of the speedy guys in your backfield. All of this being done at manageable numbers for this team that also added Vic Fangio as the D coordinator feels like a group that is gearing up for a very real playoff run. And then depending on Tua's health and ability, maybe even more than that.
All right, what about you, Brandon? What do you think? Favorite move so far?
You gotta love what the Chicago Bears are doing, and Ryan Poles and all the money they're slinging around. Obviously, getting T.J. Edwards and Tremont Edmondson. Can't say those words. I messed it up already. But outside of that, I mean, the Panthers end up getting that number 1 pick. They know they're going to go after a quarterback, and then they sign Hayden Hurst to shore up whatever young quarterback gunslinger they're going to have over there. But with the Chicago Bears, to get DJ Moore and all the picks that they are going to end up really utilizing in an NFC North that's not really locked up at all, especially with Aaron Rodgers on the way out. I just love exactly what I'm seeing there. And then also, talking about NFC North, the Lions finally getting an actual running back in David Montgomery. I love everything I'm seeing over there.
Yeah, and staying in the division, too. You got to know the Bears absolutely hate that, man. He's going to be trying to feast against them twice a year now. Gojo Rose time, gentlemen. Mike, who or what receives the most coveted award of the week every week?
Yeah, this one's actually a recency award here for the Rose of the Week. I just saw the news this morning. Ryan Reynolds sold his wireless company Mint Mobile to T-Mobile for $1.35 billion.
Wow.
This not long after he had already sold Aviation Gin back in 2020 for $610 million. Ryan Reynolds has always dressed like a billionaire, that sort of comfy casual look, especially like billionaire white guys with the hoodie with the white strings on there.
Yeah.
And so this just felt inevitable. Ryan Reynolds has been one of my favorite actors forever. Him and Blake Lively are an incredible power couple who's friends with Taylor Swift. And did I mention I'm going to see her in concert in 2 weekends? Thank you.
Yeah, you actually have. We did a huge segment
no
on that
idea,
earlier. Yeah, in the season.
I didn't know you liked Taylor Swift.
Brandon,
No, I
who gets
never mentioned it.
who gets your Gojo Roast of the week?
The head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, who spoiled the wedding of Darren Waller and Kelsey Plum, just casually. And Kelsey Plum comes out and says, yes, probably because he didn't get invited to the wedding, and then trades Darren Waller away from Las Vegas, away from his now wife, and splits up the home and sends him to New York, to the New York Giants. Like, I just feel like it's a very savage move, but one that's respectful. I know getting invites to the wedding is very personal, and some people taking it very, very personally.
Now the Liberty kind of have to trade for her.
I was gonna say,
Reunite
like, she
them.
should demand a
A
trade.
beautiful love story.
Already a
But
powerhouse
I don't know.
over
Do
there.
you really want to go from the Aces to the Liberty? Aren't they? I mean, the Aces are absolutely stacked from top to bottom, right?
The
I
Liberty
would say that's
Yeah, the Liberty are-
that's both of those teams
Yeah.
right now. That's the two super teams that she's just casually weighing her options on. So good problems to have here, especially since it means they're both going to keep getting paid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know. And
exactly.
I saw how much you liked the Darren Waller move too, there, Mike, on Twitter. But we're out of time. So everyone, if you want to read his opinion about that, follow him on Twitter.
Go to the Twitter streets. Thanks, fellas.
Love you guys. Adios.
We got more playing
Bye,
games
friends.
on the way tonight in the NCAA tournament. So Julian Edler going to join us to give his picks.
Yep,
Exciting.
he's in studio.
He is.
A strong pump fake, a crossover, a little hesitation. There's a lot of ways to beat your man one-on-one. That's why DraftKings created new head-to-head player props. Set superstar against superstar for assists, points, steals, even threes. DraftKings head-to-head player props, a whole new way to bet on the NBA. Action so good, why bet NBA anywhere else?
People always preaching buy local. It's good for this and that. Okay, I will. Because betting is legal in Mass now. And DraftKings is our local sports book. Founded right here in Boston. Woo! You want outsiders coming here telling you how to bet? Try a wicked awesome parlay.
No.
Well, that's how they sound, David. They make me sick.
DraftKings, your hometown sportsbook, is live in Mass. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly.
You know, betting without a game plan is a little like skating a giant ramp without helmet and pads. I wouldn't risk it. And I wouldn't bet without a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook provides you with tools to set a realistic budget and time limits, so you're ready to bet responsibly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino apps to learn more about how you can practice safe bets.
This season, DraftKings Sportsbook is your place to bet on the greatest sport on ice. There's so many ways to get closer to the game. And with this latest offer, you can win big. Now that is deserving of some victory stick taps.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up with the promo code, and take advantage of this great offer.
And get in on the action with an official sports betting partner of the NHL.
2 playing games last night, 2 playing games tonight. Who do we have advancing? We have Texas A&M knocking off Southeast Missouri
Corpus Christi.
State. Oh, Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh won? Beat Mississippi State? Is that why Samir was he wearing his Pittsburgh shirt walking around the office this morning?
I haven't seen him yet. Samir's rather jolly about Pittsburgh.
Jolly.
Put that out in my best bets article last night. We cashed Pittsburgh with the points. Texas A&M is a 7 seed. They play Penn State.
Okay.
This is Texas A&M Corpus Christi. You see that CC? Texas A&M Corpus
yeah.
Christi.
I thought it was Texas
So
A&M
we'll just
Community
say the right
College.
teams.
Okay, cool.
Is
Well,
that community college?
we CC.
You went to community
college.
I should
He
have.
went to regular college, but it took him 5 years to graduate. All right, 2 more playing games coming our way tonight, Jules. So we need your picks for these. We got the FDU Knights, Texas Southern in the Eastern Region playing game. Winner going to take on number 1 Purdue. So great for them. Texas Southern favored in this one. Despite a 14-20 regular season record, they swept through the SWAC tournament. 2-point spread. Like, where are you sitting on this game?
So you look at Texas Southern, you see that 14-20 next to them, and they are favored in a March Madness game. Why is that? Well, it is because this team played ringers in the non-conference schedule early in the year. They were an 8 seed in their conference tournament, so obviously they weren't great in conference either, but they got hot. They beat a good Grambling State team in the conference tournament. They're a decent team, but look, it's all about the schedule for them non-conference. This team has played San Francisco, Texas Tech, Arizona State, Oral Roberts, Auburn, Houston, and Kansas. They've played really good teams. They obviously lost those games, but they have stepped it up and played good competition against a Fairleigh Dickinson team that got in by one of those glitches. They didn't win their conference tournament. Merrimack did, but not yet eligible, so Fairleigh Dickinson gets in. Let's get rid of that rule. But nonetheless, we have a team with a much worse record only because they played such higher competition favored in this game. I really think Texas Southern's the side. They're going to step it up with all of those legitimate teams that they have played so far.
So we're going to head out west now. Jules, Arizona State, which barely squeaked into this tournament, I believe. And you have Nevada, who's not playing very good basketball at the moment. Winner of this matchup will get number 6 TCU on St. Patrick's Day. So that's Friday. Make sure you wear green. ASU currently a 2-point favorite here on the DK Sportsbook. Yes, that's currently correct. Who do you like in this game?
I'm going to let you in on a little secret, Emerson. All these 11 seeds that play in the first 4 barely squeaked in because these are the last 4 teams in, and that's why they're playing in the play-in games. So Nevada squeaked in as well. I would say Nevada is the worst team that got in the field, so a lot of people are going to be going against them, and this number with Arizona State is growing. Arizona State playing really well, knocked off USC in the conference tournament. I'll go the other way. It's always these teams that aren't. You like that, Jesse?
Yeah,
you look confused.
I think that was insightful.
It's always these teams that don't deserve to be in that get in and then make the most of it playing with house money. I like Nevada with the points if I was playing this one. They were much better early in the season. Maybe they can recapture some of that now in Dayton.
All right, so we're going to have a lot more tomorrow on these games. You went through each first-round matchup on the Unreasonable Odds podcast.
We did.
What's your favorite game on the board for Thursday's openers?
Favorite game on the board for Thursday's openers, I'll say I like the Friday card a lot more. There are some spots I'll be sprinkling on Thursday, but we have on Thursday night Auburn and Iowa. Both kind of limp down the stretch. Iowa can get hot and cold, but I do want to fade them in this tournament. And this Auburn team, I think just better tested coming out of the SEC. You see them right there, minus 115 on the money line. Veteran guard play. Strong coaching, tournament coaching in Bruce Pearl. And what I really like and what you may overlook, this game's going to be played in Birmingham, Alabama. This is going to be an Auburn home game, which is rare to find in these tournaments. So in the first round, give me Auburn essentially at home, coming out of the better conference to get this one done in a pick'em type of game.
You've done a tremendous job.
I know.
We'd like to talk some NBA with you, but not
jack of all
alone.
trades.
Jeff Pratt, Nick Whalen, what's up, you two? 7-game NBA slate. So let's get some top sportsbook plays from you guys about it. Which favorite, best spot? Which favorite is in the best spot on this slate, Jeff?
I think that just from a pure logic perspective, it has to be the Clippers because they're facing the worst road team in the NBA. Now that team just happens to be the Golden State Warriors, and they're playing pretty good basketball right now. But so are the Clippers. They've won 3 straight games, which feels like some sort of record considering how inconsistent they have been this year. I will say they're still not fantastic against the spread. Their ATS record over the last couple of weeks is pretty ugly, so I would roll with the Clippers on the money line instead. Now, Golden State, they've lost 6 straight road games. I expect that trend to continue tonight. There are also a couple of good teams on the road against bad teams I like the Mavericks in San Antonio, the Kings in Chicago, and even the Lakers in Houston. So I like all of those teams, but specifically the Clippers against the Warriors.
Nick, biggest favorite on the slate, 5.5 points. That's the Mavs on the road in San Antonio.
I like the Mavs if Kyrie Irving plays. We saw the Spurs pull off what I thought was a pretty shocking result last night against Orlando. I didn't think the Spurs were all that interested in winning games at this point in the year, and instead they really took it to an Orlando team that's actually been playing reasonably well over the last month. So if Kyrie plays, I do like Dallas 5.5. I think this is kind of a comeback to earth spot for the Spurs, but I also like Philly minus 2.5 tonight. Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen could both end up missing this game on the second night of a back-to-back. So I think if you get in now, maybe you're getting a good price should that line end up moving if those two are officially ruled out. Philly's been one of the best ATS teams in the league all season. They're 27-20-1 ATS as a favorite. Meanwhile, Cleveland just 5-10 ATS on the year as an underdog. And this is a big game for Philly. They're just one game back of the Celtics, guys.
All right, Jules, that leaves you. Which favorite is in a really good spot tonight?
That does leave me. Yeah, I'm scrolling through the DraftKings Sportsbook, eyeballing this because I didn't read all of Tom Glennon's email. I thought I was just done after college basketball.
Well, I'm sure he appreciates
Fortunately,
that.
I'm professional and can slap all this together
it really
in no time.
sounds like you're a professional.
Why are we not talking about the Sacramento Kings? They keep winning games. They're coming off a loss at home to the Milwaukee Bucks. They have a 4-game lead in the Pacific Division where they were huge underdogs to start the season. They've got a chance to win this division that nobody thought they could do. They're 1-point favorites in Chicago against a team that's kind of coming undone in terms of the playoff picture. The Bulls are going nowhere. The Lonzo Ball news keeps getting worse and worse. I think it's a get-right spot for the Kings, who can taste it now and are playing against a team that's going to be looking at ping-pong balls to get Victor Wembanyama.
All right, Jeff, let's talk totals here. Highest one on the board, going to be Kings, Bulls, 237.5.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at this Cavs-Sixers game, and the line just feels a little bit too low here. I understand that these are two defensive juggernauts. The pace could be an issue, but both Philly and Cleveland have been racking up the points lately. The Sixers have scored 117 plus in 6 of their last 7 games. The Cavs have scored 114 plus in 5 of their last 6. It's not like this line is set in the 230s. Going over 222 is a perfectly reasonable expectation in today's NBA. Now, Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen did sit last night. It's obviously worth keeping an eye on their availability throughout the day. But honestly, I would still strongly consider the over if these guys are out, and especially Jared Allen. Him sitting out would probably be a good thing because he's such a defensive monster and paint clogger. So I would roll with the over here. And then you mentioned the Kings, Jesse. I would also take a serious look at the over there. Anytime the Sacramento Kings play and the over is less than 240, you have to strongly lean towards taking the over.
All right, Jules, which of these games are you looking at? Grizzlies and Heat have the lowest total on the board at 220.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the Clippers-Warriors game here that has a decently high total set. Let me get the number here on the Clippers because Clippers home games just go under. That's what happens. And we have a high number here at 237. I know that it is the Warriors and that high-powered offense, but the Clippers are 24-8-1 to the under at home. I'll ride that. It's great TV, Billy. I'm just doing it on the fly. Eyeball it.
Yeah, why not? Nick, I'm assuming maybe you put a little more thought into your
Billy's
answer.
over here complaining.
Where are you going?
I don't need thought. Just fire from the hip.
We know you don't.
Stop talking.
Okay.
Look, I appreciate Jules going off the dome here. It's impressive stuff. Jesse, you mentioned the total in that Memphis-Miami game. I feel like they're begging us to go under on 222 in that game. These are two of the best under teams in the league. No team has gone under more this season than Memphis. They've been the #1 defense in the league over the last 10 games, but I'm staying away. I'm not falling for that trap. The Heat have been scoring points lately. I'm going under at a different game. Kings, Bulls. Total's a little too high for me, 237.5. Chicago has gone over that number only twice in its last 23 games. Both of these teams are bad on defense. I get that. Both of these teams are reasonably good on offense. I mean, Sacramento right now is the best offense in the league and the worst defense in the league over the last 10 games. You're not going to find a bigger split. However, Chicago dead last in the NBA in pace over that span, so I think this goes under.
All right, last question here. Julian.
All right, Julian, do you have something?
Here we go.
I knew you were going to do
your
this.
favorite?
Julian, you went to the prop section on the DraftKings Sportsbook.
Should I go to Nick?
No, I said I'm a pro. Come to me. But I knew that because you knew I did not have my answers prepared, you would start with me. But I'm ready.
Well, what we do is we rotate.
I think you should go to Nick.
I'm ready.
What's your prop? What's your favorite prop tonight?
All right, we got Houston and the Lakers. The Rockets have been down some guys recently. Jabari Smith, the #3 overall pick, has been stepping up. His point total, you're getting even money on over 15.5 as I see the guys nodding on the board here because I've come up with a fantastic prop. Jabari Smith, last 3 games, 30, 20, 24. Now he's going up against a Lakers team here that played last night. Give me Jabari Smith even money over 15.5 points. This is easy.
No one is
Do it
enjoying
on the fly.
this segment more than Billy behind the gimbal camera. Nick, do you really agree with what Julian just said?
They do.
You don't have to always agree with him.
I was going to mention Jabari Smith in the DFS section, which I don't think we're going to have time for. I don't know if I would bet the prop, but he's been doing more than just scoring. I mean, he's been rebounding. He's been hitting a bunch of threes. Most importantly, he's been playing a ton of minutes. He's got 50, 44, 58 DraftKings points in his last 3 games. But quickly out of prop, D'Angelo Russell over 22.5 points tonight. No Anthony Davis for the Lakers. That number might be like 7 points too low. I think barring this game just getting completely out of hand, like last night's Lakers game, D'Angelo Russell's like the only real scoring option that the Lakers have other than Dennis Schroeder, who I don't even know if we can say is a real scoring option. So Russell over 22.5 points. I'd also look at Russell over 6.5 first quarter points. That's at plus money at DK.
All right, Jeff, bring us home here, man. Your favorite prop.
Man, leave it to Julian to randomly scroll through DraftKings Sportsbook and pick out the one prop I specifically wanted to highlight here. And not
Took
only
me
was
30
I gonna
seconds to find it. You were probably looking all day.
And not only, yeah, I was looking all day. You're right. Not only was I going to mention him here, like Nick, I was going to mention him in the DFS. So I guess the message here is just roll with Jabari Smith Jr., as we're all high on him today. But luckily, I am also prepared. So I came with a backup. And my favorite player prop, pretty much every time Joel Embiid takes the floor over the last few weeks, is playing his alternate points line at 30 plus. It was at minus 185 the last time I checked. If you want better odds, you could take his standard points line at 31.5, I think it is. The guy's just putting the ball in the basket at an unreal rate, like no one else in the league this season. He's leading the league with 33.4 points per game. He scored 30 plus in 6 straight matchups. Tonight, he does get a tougher matchup against the Cavs, but there's a chance, as I mentioned earlier, that Jared Allen sits this one out. With that eye contusion he picked up, it will be his 3rd straight game that he's missed. All of that said, there are some players who are pretty much matchup proof. Joel Embiid's one of them. Considering his recent form, I would definitely take him to score at least 30 points tonight.
All right, excellent work, you three. We learned
You
a lot. No,
too.
be quiet,
You too.
Emerson.
I came on here and did work on the fly.
We learned a lot today. Like, we should always read the full email
That our producer
sends.
Sorry,
to us.
Tom.
But we also
You
learned
actually- you
that
were bad.
Julian can do it on the fly. Thank you, Julian. All right, coming up, we're going to hit the ice and we're going to look at a rather small 4-game NHL slate. But first, the football world is obviously focused on free agency, but the NFL draft is coming up here, all
We're
right?
gonna have a show
You want me to
for it,
stick around for
right?
any of these next segments and wing it?
On his college draft podcast, Ross Tucker,
Okay.
we don't need you for this one. Ross
All
Tucker
right.
talked first-round running backs with his guest Emery Hunt. Different back on top of his draft board than most draft experts, so take a look and see what you think.
Let's dive into these running backs, Emery. And you have a different number 1 running back than I think a lot of people seem to have. Your number 1 ranked guy is Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama. And I remember you talking about him a lot last year before he even transferred, I think.
Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs to me, man, just like a fantastic tailback. I know people will throw out the Alvin Kamara comparison. I can understand that. I'm not going to argue with that. He's someone that has that explosiveness, has the second and third gear. I'm trying to find a scouting report that I pulled up. I had to get through these 85 quarterbacks right quick. But here we go. I did compare him to Alvin Kamara, but when you think about his vision, that's what makes the whole thing work because he has elite level vision. He's much more explosive and faster than Alvin Kamara and is much more of a natural runner with the ball. Can give you all the things that Kamara can do, like the receiving threat down the field. He's a strong runner, and I think he's underrated in that aspect. Yeah, he measured in at, 5'9" and some change and 199. He'll be 205 by the time the season starts, and he doesn't play like he's 5'9" or whatnot. So to me, he's a really great back, and we're splitting hairs between him and Bijan. Although I will say this just to give folks a tidbit, a look into the draft guide. I do have him 5 points ahead of Bijan. Bijan has a high grade at 85, and Jahmyr Gibbs has that ever so rare 90 grade that I rarely give out. And only a few prospects have gotten that grade from me. Gabe Jackson, I gave to Lamar Jackson. I gave it to Mahomes, Watson. There's a receiver that they got a 90 grade for me this year. There's some other guys on defense that I'm forgetting, but right now offense is fresh in my brain. So yeah, he is a really good back.
A very small 4-game NHL slate coming our way this evening. We don't know what to do with it, but RotoWire's AJ Schultz and Paul Bruno, they certainly do. Fellas, don't have a lot of games on the board. We're going to make this quick. Let's start with the center that makes sense in your DFS lineups. AJ, who do you want to pay for?
Yeah, I'm going to look at Bo Horvat tonight. He's been in a pretty rough slump of late. No goals in his last 6 contests, adding just 1 assist. But he's still been shooting the puck, averaging 3.3 shots per game over that stretch. And look, there's nothing quite like a matchup with the Ducks to help get you back onto the score sheet here. He's not going to cost anywhere near McKinnon or Matthews prices at just 6,500 here. And the slump could lower the drafted percentage tonight. So I think he's worth considering at that price range.
Paul, who are you considering at the center position?
Well, I think you can go high-low tonight, so I'm going to give you a couple of guys in the below the top tier to think about. Pavel Buchnevich for $5,900 playing on the second line with St. Louis has been on an 8-game tear, 4 goals and 10 assists with 23 shots on goal in that stretch. Playing over 20 minutes a game, top power play exposure, that all sounds pretty good to me. And it's even better when you consider that he's up against a club that's having a little trouble keeping the puck out of the net. He's going to get a lot of offensive zone starts as a top 6 guy in this revised post-trade deadline lineup for St. Louis. I also got to mention the Leafs tonight, don't I? You got the last change tonight. I think the top lines are going to match up against one another. So that leaves John Tavares to get a better matchup 5-on-5, costing $7,100. He's been a model of consistency in his 5 years with the club, and this year's no exception. He's on a pretty good streak right now, surrounded by the team's top goal scorer in Willie Nylander and Michael Bunting, and a very industrious guy who's going to dig the pucks out of the corner for him.
Paul, if you didn't mention the Leafs, we'd be disappointed. So who sits atop your winger rankings tonight? Good chunk of dudes in that 7K range.
You know what? I get chided for that, but they're 4th overall in the standings, and I'm going to go double down on them tonight. Mitch Marner has been the league's top-scoring right wing the last 2 seasons entirely, and he's in the mix again. He's on a season-best streak right now with 14 points in his last 7 games played, an elevated shot-on-goal rate, which is key to my adding him tonight, too. 3.5 is the average, and I think he goes over it tonight. Despite all of these numbers, he's modestly priced at only $7,200. That's a bit of disrespect, I think, even though Colorado provides the opposition. Speaking of which, the Avs goaltending's been pretty ordinary of late, with Georgiev allowing 18 goals against in his last 6 starts. And another guy that I'm considering is another pass-first type winger, and Matt Zuccarello. He's got 40 assists this season to go with a goal total. It's fast approaching his career high. So I like him in a good matchup as a power play wheelman for Minnesota. And like Marner, he faces a club that's leaking goals against, with the Blues allowing almost 4 against in each of their last 7 games played. Zuccarello comes in at only $6,500 tonight.
AJ, is the wing a spend-up position tonight?
It absolutely is for me. And I would consider paying up for Alex Ovechkin, despite that heavy price tag and injury concerns. Now, there's a chance he doesn't play, but of course, if he is in the lineup, the fact is, since the trade deadline, Washington is averaging 4 goals a game, which is 5th most in the league, while Buffalo is allowing 4 goals per game, and that's 6th most in the league. So I think this is a huge opportunity for Ovechkin, and really, you might want to consider stacking a few caps here in this matchup. It's a good offense right now going up against a really woeful defense.
All right, take us to which D-man you think brings the best value, AJ.
Well, I kept thinking about going somewhere else. I looked at a few other guys, but I just kept coming back to Cale Makar. Even at that top price tag, most expensive D-man on the board at 7,300 here. The Avs have the best power play percentage in the league since the deadline, and Makar has racked up 10 points over that stretch, including 4 assists with a man advantage here. Meanwhile, for comparison, the Leafs PK has been a bottom 10 in the league since the trade deadline as well. So if the Colorado Avalanche get a few opportunities here with the man advantage, they should be able to take advantage of it, with Cale Makar kind of leading the way on the blue line.
All right, Paul, AJ's paying all the way up. What are you doing here?
Well, since I'm going to be spending a lot on forwards, I'm going to find some cheap options on defense, as I usually do. Rasmus Sandin is a hard guy to overlook. Since his time with the Caps, compiling 9 points in his last 5 games in a situation where he's capitalized on the fact that they're without their usual power play quarterback in John Carlson. That's going to be the case again tonight. So top pairing minutes await Sandin as well. Offensive zone starts aplenty. In addition, he gets a nice matchup against that Buffalo club that AJ mentioned that ranks near the bottom of the league with a bloated 361 goals against average on the season. Sandin only cost $3,700 tonight. And I like another guy who's a power play quarterback for St. Louis, Torrey Krug, relatively cheap option priced at only $4,400, who's well positioned to return value for his ongoing role as that quarterback on the power play and first line minutes on the pairings. He's going to see plenty of offensive zone starts as well. This gives me two cheap defensemen who also play in key roles, and I like that for about $8,000 in total.
Gentlemen, short and sweet hockey segment today. Thank you so much for the help. We got golf to get to after our final break of the show. Following a top 10 finish at the Players, can Justin Rose move even further up the leaderboard at the Valspar? We're going to see what our golf gurus think of his DFS salary coming up.
DraftKings contributor Jeff Ulrich and RotoWire senior golf writer Len Hochberg are here. Guys, we're going to talk DFS salaries for the Valspar. Need you to help us out here. So, Sam Burns has won this tournament in consecutive years. We're not even going to ask you if his $10,200 salary is worth it here at Copperhead. But what about the other higher price guys? Okay, JT most expensive at $10,900. Yep. You have Spieth at $10,600, Matthew Fitzpatrick $10K, even Tommy Fleetwood nudging the $10,000 plateau. He's at $9,800. Do you like some of those names, Jeff? What do we think?
I mean, I like all of those names, to be honest. I like them all better than Burns this week. Burns has really struggled to start 2023 as well. I would go down here to the English guys, the Englishmen, as they like to be called. I think Matthew Fitzpatrick's in a really good spot this week. What did we see from him a couple weeks ago? He really struck the ball well. You know, his time at Sawgrass doesn't look good on paper, but it really came down to just kind of flubbing up the last 6 holes. Elite putter, played extremely well this event last season, was 5th, I believe, or T5. So I think Fitzpatrick is a player we've seen get it done. I mean, I think if anything, you could look at these prices too and say, Patrick's got a major over the last season. He's been more consistent. He probably should be closer to Jordan Spieth in price. So I like Fitzpatrick. I definitely like Tommy Fleetwood as well, but I think price-wise, Fitzpatrick is where I would go in this range.
Len, in this range, who do you like?
Yeah, I'm glad that when you said I'm not even going to ask you about Sam Burns, that Jeff talked about Sam Burns, because I'm going to talk about Sam Burns too. This is not the course where he won the last 2 years, 17 under both years, putting out of his mind. They made some changes to make it the old Copperhead. Remember, before the pandemic, it was 7 under, 8 under, 10 under was winning. Well, they have grown the rough this year from 3 inches to 3.75, almost another inch. And maybe even more importantly, the intermediate cut between the rough and the green used to be 6 feet. It's now 21 inches. If you miss the green, you're going to be in the rough. I think it's going to take a different skill set. I don't like Sam Burns this week. Not big on Fitzpatrick, as Jeff was saying. I mean, the injury comes and goes, his neck injury. I do like Justin Thomas. He's really the best guy around the green in the field and maybe one of the best on tour. And Tommy Fleetwood, the wind could be blowing. So I like that Englishman as well.
Hey, Len, what are your thoughts here on Justin Rose? Is he maybe a little too high on the salary board, given that he missed his last 2 cuts prior to that T6 at the Players?
You know, when I was watching the golf last week and Justin Rose was right there and Tyrrell Hatton was right there, and I thought, you know, they're going to have a much better chance, Europe, in the Ryder Cup with these 2 guys alongside Rahm, Rory, the healthy Fitzpatrick. So Justin Rose is really surprising, but he's in his 40s, and this is his 7th start in 9 weeks. He won at Pebble, but then missed his next 2 cuts. I think that's what we're going to see from Justin Rose. We're going to good weeks, bad weeks, sort of no pattern to it. It wouldn't surprise me if he had a good week. Would not surprise me if he missed the cut. I'm not going to be on Justin Rose this week.
Jeff, what do you think here? $9,600. You confident enough that he can thrive this week?
No, I mean, Len laid it out perfectly. It's an older player. He's been really inconsistent, but he's definitely shown that his game is sharper. I just don't trust him coming off kind of being in contention last week. It's a tough week at Sawgrass. Then have to double back to play another tough course at the Valspar. 9,600 too. I don't even know if I'd paid 9,200 for Justin Rose. So trying to peg Rose, I think you target him in the bigger events, which is a little bit cheaper, is a better strategy.
All right, a lot of options in the mid-range for this tournament. Justin Suh, Gary Woodland, Wyndham Clark, all names in that 8K range. Jeff, who's your favorite here? Justin Suh finished T5 at the Honda Classic, T6 at the Players, and he's gained strokes tee to green in each of his last 7 starts. And Jason Sobel was telling us that's going to be really important here.
He's a terrific young player. You need to keep an eye on Justin Suh. He's obviously been dominating for DFS too, if you've been rostering him. Again, another player, though, was kind of deep in contention last week. I just think that it's mentally taxing for some of these players. I would rather try to get up to Davis Riley. I think the Wyndham Clark and Justin Suh have very good chances of making the cut and being solid, but I think Davis Riley has a better chance of winning. Lost in the playoff here to Sam Burns last year. He's got a same profile, elite putter. He's not going to be taxed because he missed the cut last week, but he was playing better before that. Put up a T6 at Bay Hill. Davis Riley does a lot of things well. He can definitely spike on those greens. Probably the best putter if you're looking at like Clark, Woodland, Justin Suh. So I like Davis Riley, trying to get up to him in tournaments especially.
Len, what do you think about that 8K range?
Yeah, just coincidentally, I wrote up all 3 of those guys that you mentioned in my column. There's something to like about all of them. Justin Suh, of course, the class of 19, he came up with Morikawa, Hovland, Matthew Wolff. They all went on to better things. He's struggled. It's taking him longer. He seems to be catching up. One interesting thing about Wyndham Clark, for years, terrible strokes gained approach numbers. The most important stat in golf, 180th on tour, 170s, 188. This year, he's 49th. He's playing a lot better.
All right, gentlemen, we got about a minute to go in this show. Let's hear it. Who is your pick to win the Valspar, Jeff?
I'm going to go with Tommy Fleetwood. Len mentioned it. A tougher course this year, tougher setup, and now the wind is going to get up. It's going to be a volatile event. That is the kind of event where I think Tommy Fleetwood can just hang around and go low on Sunday in tough conditions, which he likes to do. Give me Tommy Fleetwood for his first PJ win this week.
Len Hochberg.
No, man, I want to pick Tommy Fleetwood too. It would be fun to see him win, but he just never wins. Mr. Chalk here, Justin Thomas, tough around the greens, right up his alley.
All right, good stuff, guys. Thank you so much. That is a show. We have a full 6-game Madden slate coming your way, starting with Cardinals and Titans. We're going to talk more golf and NFL free agency on the slate with Emerson, Jeff.
Don't say Pryor because he's on vacation. He's a
not
lazy
Nick Pryor,
bum.
just Emerson and Jeff at 5 p.m. We're going to be back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you then.